For so many people, their financial life is built on this really fragile system, right? You work, you spend, you run out of money, and then you just repeat. That's not really living, is it? It's just existing. So in this explainer, we're going to break down exactly how to move from that exhausting reactive cycle to a sustainable plan where you are finally in complete control. All right, let's jump in. Here's the game plan. First, we'll diagnose the problem, that vicious circle that traps so many of us. Then we'll talk about rewiring your brain, which is the absolute key to breaking free. After that, it's about a big choice, blame versus ownership. Then we'll get into a practical 5-step plan you can actually use. And finally, we'll demystify how to make your money start working for you. So, first things first, let's get right to the heart of the problem. What exactly is this paycheck-to-paycheck trap, and why on earth is it so difficult to escape? This really is the question it all boils down to, because the way most people are taught to handle money, it's a system designed just for getting by, not for getting ahead. It's a system where there's no light at the end of the tunnel, just the hope that you can make it to the next paycheck. And this right here perfectly illustrates that fragile system. You work hard for a paycheck. Then boom, before you know it, the first wave of spending hits. The big stuff like rent and bills. Whatever's left over, well, that gets spent on extras. And by the end of the month, nothing. So you're forced to do it all over again. It's a relentless loop with zero room for error and absolutely no path to making real progress. So, how do you break a cycle like that? Well, the first step isn't about some fancy budget or a new app. It's about fundamentally changing the way you think about money. It all starts in your head. This brings us to a really powerful psychological idea. I'm willing to bet you've experienced this yourself. It's something called the frequency illusion, and it basically dictates what you even notice in the world around you. And this is the perfect example, the RAV4 effect. Those cars were always on the road. You just never saw them until you started focusing on them. It's the exact same thing with your finances. If you only focus on your problems and what you don't have, guess what? You'll only see more problems. But the moment you start looking for opportunities, you'll start seeing them everywhere. This leads to a super important distinction. You have to adopt a wealthy mindset before you can actually become wealthy. The broke mindset sees money as just a tool to buy stuff, a car, a vacation. But the wealthy mindset, it sees money as a magnet, where its main job is to go out and attract more money. And this fear is the anchor that keeps people chained to that vicious circle. They buy things they can't afford, with money they don't have, all to impress people they don't even really know. Getting free means you have to let go of that fear. Okay, so once you get your mindset right, you come to a fork in the road. You're faced with a critical choice. And honestly, this decision will determine your entire financial future. This slide lays out the two paths so clearly. On one side, you've got the blame game, pointing fingers at everything and everyone else. On the other side, you have ownership. It's about accepting that, yeah, those external forces are real, but at the end of the day, you are the one responsible for your outcomes, for your actions, and for finding the opportunities. One path keeps you stuck, the other leads to growth. This is such a powerful quote. Think about it. It's literally impossible to build wealth if you also believe you have no power over your own situation. You just can't play the victim and be the victor at the same time. It doesn't work. And let's be real for a second. Both paths are hard. It's hard being broke and stressed about money. It is also hard to take responsibility and make the sacrifices you need to build wealth. The difference is, only one of those hards leads to financial freedom. You have to pick your hard. So you've chosen ownership. That's awesome. Now you need a plan. You need a practical, proven framework to actually take back control and build that bridge from just existing to truly living. This 5-step plan is your roadmap. It's that simple. First, adopt frugality. And this isn't about being cheap, it's about being ruthless with wasteful spending to free up cash. Second, build your emergency shield. Pay yourself first and save up 6 to 12 months of living expenses. This is your safety net. Third, make your money work for you through investing so it can grow and beat inflation. Fourth, expand your income. Get creative, find new ways to bring in more cash beyond just your main job. And finally, step 5, put it all together to create a sustainable life, one that isn't totally dependent on a single paycheck. All right, let's zoom in on that third step, investing. People make it sound so complicated and scary, but the core idea behind it is actually incredibly simple. You can forget all that get-rich-quick noise. It's just noise. Real wealth isn't built on luck or some big secret. It's built on a simple, predictable, and frankly, kind of boring formula. It all comes down to basic math and the discipline to be consistent. And here is that formula, TRM. It is so simple. The more time you give your money to grow, the higher the rate of return you get, and the more money you consistently invest, the wealthier you will become. That's it. That is the whole game right there. But, and this is a big but, this takes patience. This is not a 10-day fix. Building a totally different financial future is a long-term commitment. The source material calls it a decade of sacrifice, 10 years of discipline that can literally change the entire trajectory of your life. It's the hard choice that makes all the difference. So let's just pull back for a second and look at the journey we've mapped out. We started by identifying that vicious hamster wheel so many people are stuck on. We figured out that rewiring your brain for ownership is the only way to get off. And now you have a clear, actionable plan to build a truly sustainable financial life. So the choice is yours. Will you choose the temporary comfort of what's familiar, the heart of being broke and stressed? Or will you choose the long-term freedom that comes from the hard work of discipline and ownership? You have the plan. Now you have to choose.